Today we stand at the site of the former Ridgewood Grove Arena in Ridgewood, Queens, New York. For 28 years, spanning from the 1920s to the 1950s, the Ridgewood Grove served as a boxing and wrestling venue for the hard-working communities of Ridgewood in Queens and Bushwick in Brooklyn. Before delving into the narrative, it's essential to clarify a detail for boxing enthusiasts. While historical records often list the Ridgewood Grove Arena as being in Brooklyn, it's technically situated in Queens. The overhead tracks seen above me delineate Queens from Brooklyn, with the arena physically located on the Queens side of the tracks. Despite being commonly referred to as being in Brooklyn, it's merely a stone's throw away from the borough. So if you ever get confused, just know that the Ridgewood Grove in Queens is indeed the famous boxing venue from a century ago that is commonly referred to as being in Brooklyn. Through my extensive research, I've unearthed a discrepancy in the boxing record books. Both BoxRec.com, a leading source for historical boxing data, and the Wikipedia pages of numerous boxers list the Ridgewood Grove Arena as the venue for many bouts between 1920 and 1954. However, this information has a minor flaw. While the fights indeed occurred at the Ridgewood Grove, the error lies in the arena's opening date. This particular venue officially opened its doors on November the 6th, 1926, meaning that world champion boxers like Corporal Izzy Shorts, Panama Al Brown, and Steve Sullivan did not compete at this new arena as is documented. Instead, their bouts took place at the old Ridgewood Grove, which should be denoted as Ridgewood Grove SC. This distinction is accurately documented for another world champion, Kid Williams. All fights before the end of October 1926 transpired at the original venue, located approximately a half mile away from the new arena, deep within the Ridgewood neighborhood. To clarify the geography, I provided a local Google map indicating both locations. The arena featured in this video is marked in the top left, while the old boxing club is represented by a star at the bottom. Additionally, the lower section of the map encompasses Ridgewood Grove Park, further complicating matters, as some fights occurred within the park grounds, separate from the boxing club on the corner. Now, what makes this former neighbourhood boxing venue exceptional? The Ridgewood Grove served as a breeding ground for budding boxers, where many launched their careers or contested early matches. In a previous video that I did on the boxing career of the Genovese crime family boss, Vincent the Chin Gigante, who himself fought at the Ridgewood Grove 6 times, I mentioned that over 20 world champions had fought here at one time or another. In reality, a staggering total of 43 future or former world champions own their skills within its walls. While most of these champions fought at the Ridgewood Grove in their formative years, some returned later in their careers to face emerging talents, essentially serving as journeymen at that stage. None of these champions defended their titles at the Ridgewood Grove, but several engaged in non-title fights while holding a world title. In this video, I aim to catalogue all 43 boxers who fought at the Ridgewood Grove Arena and held a World Championship title at some point in their careers. They'll be categorised by weight class, not in chronological order of their bouts at the Grove, but by the weight class they are primarily associated with. Before delving into the various weight divisions, let's commence with the featherweight Tony Canzoneri. Canzoneri, a 3-division title holder who also clinched the lightweight and light welterweight world titles, fought 6 times at the Ridgewood Grove, both before and after attaining world championship status. His significance is underscored by headlining the arena's inaugural night on November the 6th, 1926, which also happened to be his 18th birthday, thereby becoming the first future world champion to grace this venue. Canzoneri also had 9 bouts at the old Ridgewood Grove venue. In the flyweight division, we find Pinky Silverburg, who contested a bout here in 1928. In the bantamweight division, we have Cannonball Eddie Martin, who fought at the Grove 10 times after he had lost the title. He was also a fixture at the old Ridgewood Grove, having had 16 bouts there early in his career. And Sixto Escobar, who only appeared once at the Ridgewood Grove in 1937, just 2 months after he lost the title to Harry Jeffra. He would regain that title back from Jeffra in his very next fight. Then we also have the aforementioned Harry Jeffra, who fought here a year later, along with Lou Salica, who had 9 fights here both before and after becoming a world champion. Moving up to junior featherweight, we have the Bronx Steamroller, Carl Duane, who won the title in 1929. Next up are the featherweights. We already began with Tony Canzoneri, and the other 4 featherweight world champions who fought at the Ridgewood Grove were Andre Routy from France and Freddie Miller. Miller was the current world champion when he fought at the Grove in a non-title fight in 1933. Also we have Petey Scalzo from Hell's Kitchen, who fought here 5 times, and Phil Terranova. The next weight class on our list is the super featherweights. From this class we have Mike Ballerino, who headlined the second boxing card at this venue in 1926, and the legendary Cuban boxer Kid Chocolate. Frankie Click, who beat Kid Chocolate for the title, had 5 bouts at the Ridgewood Grove, including one against Tony Canzoneri, and Sandy Sadler, who also happens to be the uncle of the hip-hop pioneer Grandmaster Flash. In the lightweight division, one of the all-time greats, Benny Leonard, who held the lightweight title for 8 years, appeared at the Grove during his comeback attempt following 7 years of retirement. The Bronx Beauty, Al Singer, boxed 11 times at the Ridgewood Grove, including his first 5 professional fights. And Sammy Angot, who made his professional debut at the Grove in 1935. Other lightweight champions appearing here were Bojack in 1941, and the Brooklyn Billy Goat, Paddy DeMarco, who fought here 7 times. Next we have the light welterweights, and we begin with the Whitechapel Windmill, a fellow Englishman of mine, Jack Kid Berg, who fought 5 times at the Ridgewood Grove after his title reign, and Sammy Fuller, who fought at the Grove while world champion in a non-title bout. The Kensington Stringbean, Johnny Jadick, and the Garfield Gunner, Tippy Larkin, were the other 2 light welterweight champions who graced this arena. 7 welterweight world champions fought at the Ridgewood Grove, including Sugar Ray Robinson, who is often cited as the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time. Robinson won both the welterweight and middleweight world titles. The other welterweights were Joe Dundee, who fought here towards the end of his career, and the Croat Comet, Fritzy Zivic. Honey Boy Johnny Bratton and Marty Servo. And finally, Johnny Saxton and the Boston Bomber, Tony DeMarco. There were 6 boxers who were middleweight world champion at one time who were on boxing cards at this arena. And picture this, 2 of them were none other than Rocky Graziano and the Raging Bull Jake LaMotta. Both fighters only had one professional bout at the Ridgewood Grove, though it is documented that LaMotta had 2 amateur fights here as well. Ben Gibi had 9 bouts here, along with a fellow Jewish boxer who became middleweight champion, Solly Krieger. And the other 2 middleweight world champions were the boxing bellhop, Fred Apostoli, seen here with Joltin' Joe DiMaggio, and Joey Giardello. Maxie Rosenblum, who later in life became an actor, begins the list of light heavyweight champions who once fought at this arena. Rosenblum fought at the Ridgewood Grove Arena while he was light heavyweight champion. However, the fight that he had here was in the heavyweight division, and therefore his title was not on the line. He had previously fought 3 times at the old Ridgewood Grove. Paul Berlenbach, the Astoria assassin, and Bob Olin were 2 other light heavyweight champions. And rounding out the list of light heavyweights to fight at the Grove were Emilio Bettina, who had his first 4 professional fights at the Grove, and Gus Lesnovich, who fought here 19 times, including his debut, and 17 of his first 21 fights as well. To round out this comprehensive list of future or former world champions who fought at the Ridgewood Grove, and in some instances current world champions in non-title fights, we have the only heavyweight boxing champion to have fought at this arena, the pride of the Irish, James J. Braddock. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully some of you are still with me. The complete list of all 43 world champions who at one time or another were on boxing cards inside of the very arena that you see right in front of us. Can you imagine coming here in those days, possibly not knowing that someone you were watching would eventually go on to become a world champion? Or perhaps you came to see a former world champion who was still hoping for one more shot at the prize. Feel free to leave your feedback. I would love to hear from you. And if you lasted this long, then maybe hit the like button on your way out. Catch you soon, guys.